James Patterson, one of the most commercially successful authors in the world, sparked controversy when he claimed that white male authors face, quote, another form of racism in the publishing industry. But his statement opened up a broader and thornier conversation that we'll return to at the end of this, which is who gets published, who gets promoted, and what happens when publishing begins to prioritize historically excluded voices. This isn't just a one-off controversy, though. This is a flashpoint in a long simmering debate over equity and literary representation and the publishing industry at large. In a 2022 interview, Patterson discussed the supposedly dismal prospects for a white male author, saying it represents, quote, just another form of racism. What's that all about? Can you get a job? Yes. Is it harder? Yes. I want to point out the writer of the piece throws some subtle shade with the following paragraph. Quote, Patterson disapproves of actors and public figures spouting off ignorantly about subjects they have gleaned off the internet, but says, I'm almost always on the side of free speech. Now, facing a whole lot of backlash for his out-of-touch and tone-deaf comments, Patterson took to Facebook with an about-face, saying, quote, I apologize for saying white male writers having trouble finding work as a form of racism. I absolutely do not believe that racism is practiced against white writers. Please know that I strongly support a diversity of voices being heard in literature, in Hollywood, everywhere. Cool. The irony, of course, is that James Patterson has published more books and made more money doing so than just about any working writer could ever dream of. In most of the books, he doesn't even write himself. Even so, Patterson isn't alone in his thinking. Other writers like Joyce Carol Oates, for instance, have made similar comments, and there's a whole online discourse surrounding the decline of the white male author, suggesting that it's harder to get published now if you're not a woman, a person of color, part of the queer community, or any marginalized identity. So let's break down the reality of this situation, beginning with race, and then we'll talk gender. In 2019, a survey showed that 76% of publishing professionals were white, and the books that they produced overwhelmingly reflected that. A study in 2020 showed that 89% of published books were written by white authors, which is wildly disproportionate to actual population. To its credit, the publishing industry began making changes and welcoming in more diverse editorial teams. And if you're hearing this thinking that this is just the publishing world trying to be woke or implementing a change of heart, you're just plain wrong. The people who work in publishing, yes, they're by and large great people, but the industry as a whole possesses no moral compass. Like all industries, it is just that, an industry, by which I mean to say the changes made were profit motivated, because guess what? There's a huge audience of readers of color, queer readers, disabled readers who weren't seeing themselves reflected in books coming out. So of course, it made sense to make changes to widen their reach. A more recent study in 2023 shows that the percentage of white publishing professionals has dropped from 76 to 72%, which seems underwhelming and is to an extent, but nonetheless represents a noteworthy trend. So when Patterson says things like a white man can still get a job in writing, but it's harder, what he should have said is that it's harder than, say, a silk pillow. Regarding the male author side of this, yes, by most metrics, female writers outnumber male writers, but it would be naive and just incorrect to claim that this represents discrimination, when it much more accurately represents some broader cultural shifts in education readership that we've been seeing for the past 50 years. Speaking of white male authors, my new novel comes out May 20th, Her New Eyes. Pre-order it using the link in my bio, please. All right, so as for education, women have long been more inclined to study English and writing than men, but the gap has widened in recent years, with some estimates that women comprise 65 to 70% of English majors. Now, obviously, plenty of writers don't have an English degree, but it does go to show a trend, especially in a context like the university, where male English majors are never turned away. There are simply fewer. And then this disparity translates into MFA programs, where you see more women pursuing their art within that system and getting the opportunities to publish. The readership side of this is related. Remember what I said earlier, the publishing industry does not make moral decisions, it makes profit-related decisions. And it so happens that women comprise a notable majority of the American readership. So again, it stands to reason that on average, women may be more widely read than some male counterparts, which certainly helps with writing. But what deserves note here is that the larger number of women writers reflects the American readership. More female readers, more female writers. Fewer male readers, fewer male writers. Supply, meet demand. So, no, I would not say there is a top down erasure of white male writers on the basis of their being white or male. What there is an effort on behalf of publishing houses to expand readership to a more diverse audience, as well as a comparatively larger pool of female writers and readers. Now, if you're a white guy and you're unhappy about this, you've got an issue with the free market more than anything. And if that's the case, go tell your buddies to buy and read books or to become English majors. And if you are a white male author who still believes that your identity is what is holding you back, publishing and being successful, and what I'm about to say, I say with all good intentions, it may very well be that you're mistaking inadequacy with persecution. So just get better at writing.